Hey everyone, Michelle here. I'm just sitting down to edit this amazing talk we had with Fiadh of the Pharaoh Temple YouTube channel. You're going to hear us cover things like tarot divination, deity work, deities such as the Morrígan and Kali Maa. We're going to discuss topics such as the dignity of all, the challenges of going back to school later in life, and many other fun topics. One topic that is going to come up repeatedly in this interview is mental health and the concept of a mental breakdown. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis event, please know that you're not alone. There are groups and organizations out there right now who are ready to help you. Groups like the Veterans Crisis Line, Trans Lifeline, the Trevor Project, and the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Please check the show notes for information on how to contact them. Someone is waiting to talk to you with them immediately. Please know that we're rooting for you and that you're not alone. If you think this episode may be a bit much for you right now, please feel free to come back to it when and if you're ready. With that said, here's our talk. We're talking to Fiadh from the YouTube channel Pharaoh Temple. Fiadh is a priestess of the Mórrígan and creator of the Pharaoh Temple YouTube channel. Her work blends tarot, myth, and psychology to explore themes of sovereignty and shadow. Devotion and personal authority are central to her content. Fiadh is also a social work student, bringing a grounded, real-world lens to spiritual conversations. Fiadh, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you? I'm very excited to be here.
We're really excited to have you too, and I'm rocking and rolling. I've got my latte, and I drove back from back home up north from the Carolinas over the last 2 days, so I'm still kind of
Oh,
shaking that
wow.
mental dust off of my brain and body from that. But it was a good drive. I um, I stayed the night in a hotel near Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is always kind of spooky and fun. So that
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was good. And I wanted to make sure that I got back in time for this episode and talk because I'm not gonna lie, kind of been pretty stoked about it. I think Gabby has been too.
Oh,
But
yes.
yeah, so thank you so much for coming on. I don't even know where to begin. There's like so much I'm just finding out about you. I didn't know you were a social work student. I would definitely love to talk about that at some point in this. But
Yeah.
maybe let's jump right into tell us a little bit about Pharaoh Temple. What's going on with that?
Yeah. I previously had a channel that was called the Morrigan's Oracle. And I was primarily at that time, like everything I was doing at that time was pretty much just a devotional to the Morrigan. And it still kind of is. It's just different now. But had a bit of a mentee beat, a little bit of a mental breakdown this summer, and I took a break from the internet, wiped my socials and stuff just because I needed. I don't know. It's one of those things that like I kind of regret it, but I kind of also realized that I wouldn't have grown to be like what I am now, if I hadn't have, gone through all of that and done all of that. So yeah, I wiped everything, started over, and then came back, and now we are operating under the Pharaoh Temple. The reason why I'm calling everything, well, so my main channel is the Pharaoh Temple, and then I recently also started a new channel called Pharaoh Witch Tarot, and that's just like a tarot channel type of thing. But the whole idea is just letting myself create whatever it is that I want to create as a devotion to myself, but also in devotion to my matron goddess, who is the Morrigan. And she is quite feral herself, if I do say. So I think she approves. And I think also, I didn't really realize this until like recently, but I think the move from the Morrigan's Oracle into Pharaoh Temple has also been quite symbolic for just like my own path as well, because I've sort of started operating in the capacity as not just an oracle, but also like a priestess of the Morrigan, and that's kind of been a bit of a different thing. A lot of it is the same, but there's also just there's a deeper component to it. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Totally does. And one thing I've always loved about like your content since like I'll be honest, it just kind of started showing up on my YouTube feed one day and I was like, this seems timely. Let's roll with this. But one thing I've always loved about it is you haven't been shy about the mental health component and your own workings with that. And, you know, I think some listeners out there might remember that this show had a first iteration that ended in like 2022. Also, I'm feel you right there with you with the whole MTB and just wiping social media and needing to take a step back from everything and kind of dissolve and reform in a certain sense, right? So
Yeah.
definitely. And I think that's a great thing about your channel is that you've never been shy about the the grounded the groundedness of it, the mental health component of it, right?
Yeah, thank you. I feel like that's something I've tried to, I don't know, in some cases I feel like I can almost overemphasize it, but I feel like I do that on purpose because like I don't really see a whole lot of people in the spiritual community like talk about it. I think there's a lot of fear that people have to talk about it in like spiritual witchy spaces, pagan spaces, because there's always this sort of like stigma of like, oh, you hear God, like you're just crazy type of a thing. And so we want to like get away from that as far as possible. But like my thing is and always has been, like, especially with Morrigan, like she literally dug me, or well, she helped me dig myself out of like the deepest like OCD depression spiral that I've ever been in. And that's like the reason why I knew that it was real and it wasn't just like some spiritual psychosis situation, because the closer that I've gotten to her, the better that I've been, like mentally. So,
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you're on the upswing. Yeah, and I totally feel you on that. Like, there's definitely always been an aspect in the back of my mind. It's like, how much of this am I going to talk about? How much can I talk about? Am I losing my damn mind? No, well, two things can be true, maybe,
yeah.
but what's the balance, right? And I think I think our paths have run in parallel in a lot of ways with what you're just saying, and it's reassuring to hear that. And I'm glad you're in a better spot.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Gabby, feel free to jump in at any time because I will definitely just like, yeah,
Yeah, I just kind of want to echo what you said, Michelle, and kind of emphasize like how amazing I think it is that Fia, that you are open about your struggles with mental health, and you kind of do the work to destigmatize like having a mental breakdown. I mean, it's something I think
Yeah.
a lot of us, like I know myself, I can absolutely relate to, deleting all my social media, taking a step back. And what's interesting is Michelle and I actually had a very similar conversation recently about shifting trends in social media that we've noticed. Particularly, a lot of people seem to be changing their relationship to social media. So, like, either taking kind of like that step back or deleting entirely. And I was just kind of curious, like, how has, your relationship to social media like changed, now? And like, what advice would you give to somebody who may be thinking like, my relationship to social media, it's not really good for me right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's kind of like two angles that I've personally had to attack this from, like from the angle of a creator, but then also as a consumer. And I've had to sort of like untangle like what is or what has served as like a source of toxicity in my life, so to speak, between like, is this coming from my consumption of social media or my creation of social media?
Mhm.
And even being a creator on social media, you're still consuming like people's reactions to what you're creating too. And like, I think that also plays a role into it. But yeah, I mean, as far as like how it's changed since I've came back, like I think I definitely have stronger boundaries with myself as far as like when I create content, I don't I well, I'm kind of bad at it, but I try my very best not to like read through every single comment, you know,
Right.
especially if a video has been up for a while or if it's one video that, you know, for whatever reason has gotten a lot of views, because the more views that something gets, the more trolls that will come along and the more people that just like have a commitment to misunderstanding you, you know, will come along. So just trying to limit my exposure to comments and things, as far as the creation side of things, as well as limiting, well, I guess not necessarily limiting, but just like pacing myself. And, you know, I'll have these bursts of inspiration. And in those bursts, I'm sort of tempted to post like a video like every single day, you know, but I'm allowing myself to create, but then like spacing out actually posting it, if that makes sense, so that I don't get
Totally.
burnt out. Um, yeah. And then as far as consuming content, I feel like I'm still figuring that out because I was actually just thinking about this last night. Like I still have a problem just over consuming content. So yeah.
Same.
Still figuring that out.
That's yeah, right there with you. Like one thing I was thinking about last night too, like I definitely want to reform my relationship with social media and get away from the consuming as much as possible. But also, how am I going
Yeah.
to balance a podcast? Or how am I going to
Right.
balance like finding people that interesting people who have a really cool message that I think should be shared. So again, with all things, I think balance is going to be a big part of it. Um,
Totally.
yeah. Sorry, I just went off into space there.
You're good.
Somewhere heard recently from a friend's Tarot Tunes channel that the card for January is Temperance, and I'm finding that apparently to be very true. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's that balance theme again. Um, Gabby, did you have anything you wanted to ask on that? Otherwise, I might change the subject just a wee bit.
Yeah, I'm totally ready to switch gears.
Sweet. Yeah, jumping around a little bit. So, the Morrigan has been one of those deities that has been with this podcast, I dare say, since its inception, even if I didn't know it. Like
Mm.
shortly after I started it in like 2021, all of a sudden, like I had like three guests back to back to back who were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I also work with," and then name drop the Morrigan, and I'm like, "Oh well, that's interesting, right?"
Yeah.
And yeah, and then so that's been a deity that's very very important to me. Without anyway, this isn't about me, but you mentioned
No,
making the
yeah.
jump from an oracle to a priestess of the Morrigan. And I'd like to hear a little bit about what that's been like for you. Like, what what brought that on? When did you maybe first start working with the Morrigan, and how's that change been?
Yeah. So I first started working with the Morrigan. Um, I would say my first encounter with her, like consciously, was in 2021. Um, but I did not like try to pursue anything with that until I guess a year later, 2022. And literally from day one with her, it was always about channeling. Like that was what she wanted me to do for her. It started with automatic writing. She gave me some really wild messages, and I wish I still had them, but I don't because we moved and lost things and things got messed up and all of that. But she gave me this one message like when I first started consciously working with her that was about like, I didn't even really know what it was referencing, but it was basically her retelling the story of a deal gone wrong between her tribe and like the Fearbolg, and like it like lines up with the lore, and like I didn't realize it at the time, but things like that is just like, what the fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's always kind of been about channeling work with her. And I am able to channel for other beings as well, other gods and spirits and ancestors and things, but like she's really the one who like taught me how to do that. And so I'm forever grateful to her for that. But as far as me actually dedicating and devoting to her and like really taking it seriously, that didn't happen until like 2024, was when I dedicated to her. And after I dedicated to her, she was like, okay, well, now we need to like take our work together more seriously. And that's when I started the Morrigan's Oracle, which I had previously because she told me to call it the Morrigan's Oracle. And I was like, I don't think so. That's just like a little too bold, And so I called it Oracle of Maka at first because like it kind of is what you're asking me to do, but I just feel better about it this way. And she got mad and she was like, that's not what I asked you to do. So I changed it to the Morrigan's Oracle and all that. And then spent pretty much a year in that role with her, like formally, And in that year, I only worked with her. I did not invite or, honor any other deity type of a thing, except for the Dagda here and there. And we got very, very close in that time. And that period of time was actually like when I said before how the closer I got to her, the better my mental health was getting, like that period of time was really when all of that was happening, because before I dedicated to her, I was in a not great space whatsoever. And she just helped me pick myself up and get my shit together basically. But yeah, so I spent a year with that, and then I had sort of a reckoning, I guess, because of a lot of things that were happening on social media through comments and things that I was getting, but also like I was having situations with like clients and things that would get readings from me, and people like making threats, people saying things about me that weren't true, and I just kind of lost my grounding, I lost my footing, I lost my motivation. And I was honestly kind of pissed at the Morrigan for a bit. I was like, you're supposed to be protecting me. Like, I'm doing this for you. Like, why aren't you protecting me from all of this? And so that was when I deleted everything, and took a bit. But as far as me coming back, and because I also took the name Fiadh, which means in Irish, it basically translates to the wild one of the battle crow. And I took that as my priestess name when I came back, because she was basically saying, like, we can do this again. And, I'll allow you to, she was like, I'll allow you to work for me. But we need to, like, just keep deepening the work. And I was like, okay. So, yeah.
That's just how cool. I don't even know. I've got so many questions off the back of that. And I'm really sorry for what you experienced with, yeah, people talking smack on social media. That's never fun to deal with, especially when you're in an unstable or,
Yeah.
going through a lot of change in your own life. But it sounds like you're in a better place now, and I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. I always feel like I jump right in. Gabby, do you have any questions based on that?
Yeah, I do. Like, first off, I want to say, to echo what Michelle said, I'm very sorry that you had such a rough time with social media. I know from experience that people can be very, very cruel, and I'm sorry
Yeah,
that you know from firsthand experience what that is like. And I'm
thank you.
very, very
Yeah,
glad that you got through it, that you had the support you needed to overcome it, and now you're back and stronger than ever. And I think that's so inspiring for people who have also gone through a similar experience. Like I have tons of friends who are also creators, and I know they have a hard time, dealing with the comments. So like knowing that there is a life after that, that they don't have to let
yeah,
the hate that other people say define them. I know that's going to be very encouraging for them to hear. I do have a question though, to kind of
sure,
switch
yeah.
things a little bit. So before you started interacting with the Morrigan, like before you even, dedicated yourself, were you already in this kind of field? Like, had spirituality been like part of your life, or was it like completely new for you?
Yeah, so I've always been an extremely spiritual person. I don't know if you know much about astrology, but my sun and rising are both in the 12th house. So I'm a
Oh, wow.
spiritual lady. Yeah. um, Definitely a spiritual person. But I grew up in like fundamentalist, like evangelical Christianity in the American South. And I had very strict, you know, religious rules and parents that were just very, very religious to say the least.
Hard
And so
same.
I was, yeah, yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And there's a lot that I resent about my upbringing. However, one thing that I've come to appreciate about it is that I grew up going to these like revivals and things where people are like speaking in tongues and like rolling around on the ground, laying hands on each other, screaming, and that really like as crazy as it is, which it is, it taught me how to like express myself spiritually and like not be afraid of it, I guess. Um, so yeah, so I've always been very spiritual, but I left Christianity very early on in my adulthood. I was like 19, 20. And I pretty much immediately started getting into Wicca and stuff, as one does, because that's what, is available and everything at Barnes and Noble.
Yep.
um, but yeah, so I started getting into all of that. And then I also kind of concurrently got involved in Hinduism and this particular branch of Hinduism called Shaktism, which is basically like it's sort of like a left-hand path Hinduism. So rather than exalting like a masculine deity as like the ultimate divine reality, it's exalting like the feminine as the ultimate divine reality. And for me, that was Kali. Still is in a lot of ways. The relationship to her is just different now, but yeah. So that's kind of where I was at. I was mostly working with Kali and on that path of Shaktism before the Morrigan kind of popped, like just dropped herself into my practice and life. So
You know,
Oh, that is so cool.
now that is really cool. And I was just gonna say, like, seems like maybe sometimes those two kind of travel parallel paths and walk hand in hand a little bit as well, in my experience that I found. So that's really
Kali and the
cool.
Morrigan,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. Like they may not live in the same house, but they're definitely on the same street, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Brain. This is why we edit. We don't have to fill every second.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I do have another question if you'd like a couple more seconds.
Yeah,
Okay.
go right ahead, Gabby.
Yeah, Fia, I'd love to hear more about, your channeling work, if you'd like to talk about
Mm.
that and kind of what that process looks like for you.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as like currently what it looks like, it's hard for me to like explain it really because it's one of those things that I feel like, not to like toot my own horn or anything, but it's one of those things that I feel like just kind of comes naturally to me. And so it's hard to explain like the individual pieces of it and like what's happening, you know what I mean? Um, but the way that hang on one second, I'm so sorry. So as far as like what it looks like now, there are certain like meditation type practices that I will do and like visualizations that I will do. And one of the things specific to the Morrigan is like a shape shifting visualization. And so it's usually into an eel or a snake. That seems to be her favorite one for me to use. And so I'll have that visualization process, and then it will sort of open up that connecting point for me to be able to, like, essentially just like full body channel her. So that's like a full body situation. Sometimes it's been happening more often now because I've been practicing it more, where um, it'll just kind of happen. And I don't really, I'm still trying to figure out like exactly what's going on when that happens. Like if it's something that I did beforehand or if it's just that I'm getting better at it. Like, I don't know. So I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. But, and then with automatic writing and stuff, because that's really how it started for me with channeling work was automatic writing. With that, it's similar, a similar situation of just like a really intense, deep meditation. I'll usually have some kind of music going on and just like really focus in on an image of the Morrigan or my statue that I have of her. And then it sort of opens up that channel for me to be able to channel. So
Yay, that is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
I can imagine whenever it just happens spontaneously, it's a bit like, whoa, what the hell was that?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
This looking at the forum and the pre-show questionnaires, and a word that is really jumping out to me right now is sovereignty.
Hmm.
Let's
My favorite.
Yes, let's talk about sovereignty a little bit. Like, how does that play into your practice, the messaging that you get? We can all just kind of riff on that and roundtable on sovereignty for a moment.
For sure. Yeah. So aside from like my channeling work, sovereignty has been, as far as like personal lessons, sovereignty has been like the number one thing with the Morrigan, besides like my spiritual work and stuff that I do. And from day one, she's always given me this message of like, you have to accept the consequences of your convictions. So like, even if like shit's gonna go down, but like you know that you have to do something because it's you believe to be right with everything in your being. Maybe you're wrong, okay, but you believe that it's right. So you have to act on that. And if you don't act on that, then you're not living in integrity. It doesn't matter if you are objectively right or wrong, if there is such a thing, right? It's about living in accordance to your own authority. Um, So yeah, that's been a huge thing. And with that, you know, there's a lot of I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff in like the spiritual world that I've had to set boundaries with, and a lot of people that I've had to set boundaries with, because so many times I find that even outside of like that evangelical world, like people just kind of want to make carbon copies of themselves and like their own beliefs, their own G, like they want everyone to see it the way that they see it. And I've lost so many people in my life because of that, because I've had to like put my foot down and be like, hey, I don't believe this. It's cool that you believe it, but I don't see it that way, you know,
Yeah.
and people don't like that. So,
No, yeah, I totally get that. And I think that's a theme that a lot of people have encountered in their life. And there's a certain skill that really, it's easy to talk about, but hard to really get down to it when it comes down to the brass tacks of being able to like hold two opposing viewpoints
yeah.
in your brain and accept that both could possibly be true. And then um, I think Jung called it something about the transcendent function, about holding the two opposing viewpoints and finding a third path from that. But that's a little
Mm,
bit, yeah, a little bit different. But I pick up what you're putting down, especially like I, my own journey, I really feel like I had access to a lot of this when I was very young. And then that far right Christian, in my case, Catholic upbringing really kicked it out of me.
yeah.
Really taught me how to bury a lot of stuff. And this journey on personal note for me has been a lot about uncovering and unburying and like unstacking all of that stuff that I've just shoved in the closet, which
Yeah.
for me, a lot of it that I had shoved in there was my relationship to the other, to the numinous, to the spiritual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about, sovereignty and kind of like I love how you put it, how it's about letting yourself and letting other people have their own unique experiences and
Yeah.
not feeling like that impulse to like tell people like this is the one true way, like this is the only
Right.
way, like letting people have that. Because I think sometimes it's very easy to fall into this sort of idea of like, oh, in spirituality, you're supposed to be like egoless and interpreting
Yep.
that to mean like you're passive and you just kind
Hmm.
of let other people tell you what to do when really egolessness means you're kind of like imagine you have a vase, right? And you go to the ocean, you fill it with water, the ocean is kind of like the everything and you're the vase. So being egoless is like breaking the vase and returning to the ocean. So it's not like you
Yeah.
become, like you become nothing, but not in the way that
Hmm.
we normally think of nothing. It's like it's not a
Right.
passive nothing. It's a creative nothing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And that's one thing that I love about the fact that I did spend so much time in like Shaktism as well, because in that time, I learned a lot about like non-duality and like the ego and stuff like that, which I was very young at the time. So like I of course had my own like misinterpretations and things that I've since sort of course corrected within myself. But um yeah, like within that worldview, which I still hold to in a lot of ways, it's pretty much exactly like you said. It's not about becoming this, because like the whole thing with Kali, right? Sorry, I feel like I'm kind of going everywhere here, but the thing with Kali is like she supposedly like destroys your ego, and she does, but it's not about destroying your sense of self or destroying your sense of, you know, like who you are. It's about freeing you to be who you are and connecting you to everything else that is, including other people who you do disagree with, you know, and sort of finding a way to, even if you can't replicate it external to yourself because of other people's choices, at least within, you can come to some sense of peace and understanding of like, this is my path and that's what they're choosing to do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like it can all exist simultaneously. Like Michelle said, like two different things can be true at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. Or in this case, infinite things can be true at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm reminded of a quote by a book called The Little Blue Kite by Mark Z. Danielewski. I don't know if I've ever said that name out loud before, so pardon the mispronunciation. They wrote House of
I
Leaves.
don't know it any different, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The author of House of Leaves for anybody out there. But A Little Blue Kite is a little bit different. It's almost like a children's illustrated
Mm.
storybook, but I definitely recommend it. It's got some cool stuff, but the one of the themes that kept reoccurring in that one was happiness. Um, and I'm gonna into the neighborhood of this quote, but maybe not right on it. But happiness is about granting others place, and
Mm.
Ooh.
I think there's a lot there overlapping with what we're talking about with
Yeah.
granting others the space to have their own perspective while also granting ourselves the space to have our own and being secure
Yeah.
in that position, right?
Yeah. And that's one thing that I've been kind of coming up against in a different sort of way, like studying social work and stuff too. Like, because being a social worker, which especially what I want to focus on is like macro social work, so it's like lobbying and more of the political stuff. But I don't know, we'll figure it out as we go, right? But like even with that, like being a social worker, like you have to uphold the dignity of all people, right? Even people you disagree with, even
Yeah.
people that you don't understand why they're doing the things that they're doing, and you might even think that they're kind of stupid,
Hmm.
but like you have to still uphold their right to express themselves with dignity. And so yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
No, I think that's a really important thing to talk about, and that's something that I've been finding in my own path as well, right? Is this black and white, like social media algorithmic driven dichotomy of you're going to go in this box and you're going to stay there
hmm
because of one little thing, and I'm going to then project all of my judgments upon you and cast you off. Like, if we're going to make any meaningful change, that's got to go out the window, and there's got to be a
absolutely.
new paradigm that individually we're going to have to take on. And it's really easy to like sit here like and wax poetic about it, but in practice it's very difficult, right? Like I can,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely I've had some experiences lately with running into like conversations and people on the street where I've really just got to like sit back and be like, okay, they just said that, and I've got to sit with my reaction and let things unfold a little bit differently than I otherwise would have if we're going to
hmm
make any meaningful change here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, also, I wanted to ask you about the social work. Like, how's it been? I assume you're in school now. Is it a going back to school process for you? Is it a big change from what you went to school for? How's that going for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a change. It's definitely a change. I previously, so I had an associate's degree. It was just like a general associate's. I didn't really know what I wanted to do for the longest time. And so after I got my associate's degree, it's just like so random. So I always laugh when I say it. I went to massage school.
Oh yeah.
So so I am actually working as a licensed massage therapist right now, um, and going back to school for social work as well. And I've always been very interested in like psychology and like psychological like adjacent like subjects and things like that. Um, and I had for a while thought, at some point like a therapist or something. Because if you think like psychology and, helping people and like what's the overlap there? Oh, duh, therapist.
Yeah.
Um, and like I might still go that route because you can do that with a social work degree. But I think kind of what I've landed on with it and why I ultimately did social work as opposed to just studying straight up like psychology or something to finish out my bachelor's is that like I have spent like my entire life being like an emotional support system for people external to myself. And I don't want to horn myself into just being that for the rest of my life as a career.
Totally get
So,
that. I
Hmm.
absolutely understand. Um, well, that's really awesome. How are you finding the classes? How are they treating you? Like coming at it from like with a little bit of time since your last time in the academic setting.
Yeah, it's going really well. I mean, honestly, knock on wood, it's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I think a lot of it is easier for me now because like I am not like a math or science girl, like I'm just not. And but because I have my associates, like I don't have to do any more like math or science, so it's all just like the social work stuff. And all my assignments are pretty much just like writing papers and stuff, which I've always been good at. So um yeah, so it's not been difficult as difficult as I thought that it would be. I think the thing that is really difficult about it that I'm still kind of grappling with is just like there's a lot of reasons why I didn't finish my bachelor's, including like just struggles with school and a lot of emotional family stuff. And so now being at like a university where like, here I am, I'm going to be like 30 this year, which like I don't have anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But just being around a bunch of like 18, 20-year olds, it's just like different and it's a lot. And I'm just like, oh, like you're 12.
I I feel that I felt so it was such I'm in a similar spot. I'm looking at going back to school for something completely different. And
Okay.
about a year ago, I went onto campus to meet with the advisor. And I was like, big university, blah, blah, blah. And I was
Hmm.
like, there's a lot of high school kids here. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then I had to take a hard look in the mirror and be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It really puts you like face to face with your own mortality.
it really does. But I think it's definitely worth it. And I'm really excited for you. I think,
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, like, well, yeah, just we're rooting for you. Just if it ever gets really dark or hard, know that we're rooting for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Abby, feel free to jump in anytime. I don't mean to put you on the spot. The reason I keep calling you out is because I recognize that I can like steamroll conversations.
No, you're good. You're good. I
Okay.
appreciate all the points that you bring up and you ask a lot of really cool questions. So I definitely appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, I am curious since we are talking about social work and school and all of that. I am curious now. How do you see your spiritual practice and your social work intersecting? Like, how do they influence or inform one another?
Yeah. I love this question because it's something I think about a lot, to be honest with you. Like the Morrigan, I, I I don't know how this is probably going to sound silly to some people, but like I genuinely see the Morrigan as a goddess of like social change.
Mm.
And so me going into social work like is just another extension of my work with her and for her. And there's been so many times when I'm like reading something in like a textbook or like something will come up during a lecture and I'm just like, ooh, that is like I don't know, like it's something that I could see the Morrigan like being in alignment with, and I always get really excited with that. And I see my work spiritually as like my goal with it whenever I'm, making a video or if I'm doing a tarot reading or whatever, like my goal is to help people live in their sovereignty spiritually and otherwise. And I honestly couldn't see a better like fit career wise, if I am to have a career external to spirituality, then social work to also be in alignment with that. So I'm really excited about how they overlap and support each other.
That is so amazing. Yeah, I really think it's cool that, your spiritual practice, it informs like that desire to help other people live in their own truth and to find their own personal sovereignty because I feel like it's really hard to do. Like, it's easy to say, like, oh yeah, live in your, like, step into your sovereignty. But like the actual practice, it can be tough and intimidating. And I guess kind of
Absolutely.
like in that theme, like, what advice would you give to somebody who really wants to step into like their sovereignty, but maybe they don't really know how, or they don't really know where to
Yeah.
start?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot I could say with that. I think this might sound kind of silly, but this is coming from personal experience. Like with me, I always would get these random urges, and I still do, because I'm going through a hair transformation as we speak. But I would always get these random urges to just like change my hair, you know. But then I would like get really mad at myself for it because I'm like, I don't need to change it. I just need to like leave it alone and let it grow and blah blah blah. Um, and I had this like just internal like terrible conflict about it for the longest time until I realized recently, like, no, like me changing my hair is like me asserting my sovereignty. Like, I want to make a change. And so then I just do it. Okay, maybe my hair falls off. Okay, cool. Like, I did what I wanted to do, you know?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so like maybe it starts off with something seemingly small like that, where you just want to change your hair. And, but again, it goes back to having to be able to live with the consequences of your convictions, right? So understanding maybe this is not going to turn out exactly how I want it to, but this is what I feel like I should do. This is what I feel like is right, and then just doing it, and just doing that in like the smallest possible way, and then building it up from there, because it really is just something that takes this over and over and over again, unfortunately.
Oh, I totally get that. And yeah, one point I just want to like highlight, because you said it perfectly, is sort of like this idea that sovereignty, it's not about control directly, like it's taking
No.
control over yourself and your own actions, but then still like being okay with whatever happens. Like understanding, like,
Yeah,
no, I can't control every little aspect of this situation, but I can control how I act and how I respond, which is important.
absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
And I think there's also an aspect to it of recognizing, like as they say, and we can riff on this, like not every thought you think is yours, right?
Yeah.
Like you definitely got some thoughts rattling around in there, like from your parents, from like generational trauma, from shit you saw on social media that's like when you're
hmm
doom scrolling. And I think also a big part of personal sovereignty is doing the work to sort out that tangled mess. Um,
100%.
yeah, and I really like the hair analogy.
Thanks.
That's definitely something that speaks to me and my desire to like shave my head every time something in my life changes.
Yeah. No, it's actually like, okay, so like with the hair thing, like there is actually like a spiritual like symbolism too. Like so many cultures will like if they're going through like a grieving process of like, you know, they've lost someone, they'll cut their hair, you know, or like something changed. So like there is like a spiritual, or at the very least, a very deeply subconscious psychological component to it that I think is fascinating with the hair. So
You know, I'm with you on that. That's something that's always fascinated me as well. It shows up in a couple of my favorite TV shows with some characters after like some large scale traumatic events happen. Like people end up like it shows them like walking into like the bathroom with like the straight razors or whatever
yep.
and just shaving it all off. Yeah, I would like to know more about those cultures at some point. That's going on my list to read about. But yeah,
Yeah.
I heard it put somewhere like someone even was like, energetically, your hair stores everything you've been carrying around with you. So sometimes it's time to
Yeah.
change it up.
Ooh, I don't think we've really talked about tarot yet, and I guess kind of how tarot intersects with, your deity work, working with the Morrigan and the other deities in your life.
Yeah. Tarot is the love of my life.
Mhm.
I love tarot so much. Um, it was kind of the first main thing that I really started studying, like in my foray into like Wicca and witchcraft and stuff. And I'm so glad that it was because it's such a mainstay in my practice now. But for me, I primarily use tarot as a way of like communicating to or with rather, like my deities, spirits, ancestors, etc. And I tend to view tarot as I don't know, just like it's almost like a prayer in a sense to me because it's sort of like any question that I have or anything that's on my mind that I say as a prompt for the cards or a spread that I'm using, like it's kind of like that's kind of like the prayer piece, and then any cards that I receive is like the answer to it. And I think that's part of the reason why it's so fascinating to me because it's like like I said, I grew up in Christianity and everything, and I was very open about like praying to God and Jesus and whatever, but like I never received a response, and so having tarot is like, oh, like God actually talks back to me. So that's always been really cool, but I didn't always use tarot that way. Like when I first started using tarot, I did have a tendency to like as an extension of my mental disorder, for lack of a better way of putting it.
I feel that.
Yeah. Because I do have obsessive compulsive disorder. And so one of the things with that is like reassurance seeking and just always trying to make sure that like that I'm right, that things are, good, everything's okay. And so I would use tarot as a way of doing that. But one of the ways that I stop myself from doing that now is, I mean, aside from medication and therapy, is using it strictly as that sort of sacred divinatory prayer type tool, if that makes sense. So.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and that hits really close to home as far as the reassurance seeking and the obsessive compulsive stuff. I feel you on that. My heart goes out to you. No, that makes a lot of sense. Do you have any favorite decks these days?
My absolute favorite deck of all time is the Witch Sister Tarot. It's amazing. There's so much like Morrigan imagery in it. And yeah, it's been my favorite for like almost 3 years now. I have 2 copies of it just in case if something happens. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw this in a reading you did pretty recently. That card's coming up. I see the girl who's got the red bird tattooed on their back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is very much Morrigan coded. Ooh, how fun. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like, I really like the Lightseers tarot deck, but it is a little lighter. The artwork on this almost reminds me of like the other side of the aisle path of that same art style, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is really great. Witch Sister Tarot. Very cool. I want to... Okay, that's on my list too. Fun.
Do you have any favorite decks besides the Lightseers?
Yeah, one of my favorites, and I honestly like during like my own like mental breakdown, I ended up like losing a bunch of cards from this deck, but I really, really enjoyed the Luna Somnia tarot deck.
Oh, I think I've seen that. Is it like photography?
No, it's black and white art.
Oh.
Let me see if I can find it. It's maybe I'm making it. Oh wow, no, it's not the Luna Somnia deck. Oh wow. Did this deck like disappear or did I misremember it?
Mandela effect.
Exactly. Don't you hate it when that happens? I think Somnia is in the name. Let me. Interesting. Shores of Moon Luna Somnia tarot deck. I'll drop a link in the chat. That and the Lightseers were like 2 that like just vibed really well with me, and the Labyrinthos Golden Thread Tarot deck as well. That was like the first tarot deck I ever got. And I think there was something to be said about just having like a very black and white deck being a little bit easier to pick up on and read, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I learned on the RWS tarot, so I totally, and I'll still go back to that from time to time too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like got this one, but my friend SJ got this for me for the RWS, but
Oh, cool.
in like circular form. And
How fun.
yeah, it really challenges you because like I'm not super familiar with all of the tarot. There's no the cards don't say like Three of Cups or Three of Wands or Page of Cups. It's just the art.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Ooh.
That's another one that I got. And then the Morrigan's Oracle deck that came out recently. Big fan of that one as well. Trying to think. Yeah, that's what's on my table.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Gabby? Do you have any faves?
I do. My first ever tarot deck was a gift for my 13th birthday, and I still have
Oh,
it.
cool.
It's the Shadowscapes Tarot.
Oh,
And
fun. Yeah.
it's a beautiful deck. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's very like whimsical. There are lots of fairies and woodland creatures and pastels. Beautiful deck. Highly recommend checking out the artwork. And that one to this day is still like my go-to for any personal readings for myself. I try not to use it on other people to try to keep it like
Mm,
just with my energy. But if I am
yeah.
reading for other people, I love to use the Crystal Visions Tarot.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
yeah, it's based off of the RWS system. So if you're already familiar with that system, it's very easy to pick it up. But the artwork is also equally beautiful, but a lot more simple. Like it's a lot simpler than the Shadowscapes Tarot. So like it's great if you're showing somebody who's very new to tarot because they can kind of like figure out what's going on a lot easier.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I used to have the Crystal Visions tarot and I accidentally messed it up because I was trying to like mod the deck and it did not go very well. So,
Oh no.
Truth be
so
told,
I
that's
need
what
to
happened
go.
to my Lunasomnia deck. I'm right there with you.
Oh no. At least I'm not alone.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
So, what's on the horizon for you? You've got social work in school, and what else? What else are you looking forward to?
I am honestly just trying my damnedest to go with the flow, which is really fucking hard.
Amen. Amen.
Yes.
Yeah, so go with the flow. I'm trying to just take it as it comes. And, with returning to social media and stuff, I'm trying to like manage, well, okay. First of all, just honestly trying to manage my own expectations with it, not even just about like the growth and stuff, but just like what I'm capable of putting out on a regular basis. So trying to find a balance with that. But yeah, as far as like looking forward to things, I think I'm just looking forward to seeing where this year goes because last year was a lot. And I vowed to myself and the Morrigan to try to make this year as simple and straightforward as possible. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out. So
That's awesome. We're definitely rooting for you, and I feel you on all of those accounts.
Do you have any like New Year's resolutions now that we're in 2026 that you'd like to share?
um yeah, so I guess like on topic like spiritually, one of the things that I've sort of resolved in with as far as my practice with the Morrigan and stuff is to start doing regular like full on healings with her like full body situations on like Oh my God. The word just left my mind. But like like Beltane and Imbolc and those.
Right.
Um, but doing like full body channeling situations on those, and she wants me to do it publicly, but I'm sort of working up to that. So I'm just my resolve right now is just to practice it, and we'll see how it goes. So
Oh, I love that.
That's
thanks.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And I know everybody's energies are a little bit scattered with the holidays just winding down. And I really appreciate you and everything that you've been putting out there. I just want you to know that I feel like it's made a huge positive difference in my own outlook. And I'm sure I'm pretty confident in speaking for others as well. It's been a great little corner of social media to check out if the rest of the crap is just turning you off right now. Go check out Fia's channel, Feral Temple, and what was the other one? Feral Temple Tarot?
Feral Witch Tarot.
Feral Witch Tarot. Thank you. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Yeah. We wish you all the best and like everything moving forward and good luck in school. And then just this week's charity shout out. I think we're going to keep it pretty simple, and always a great recommendation that we had on our last episode was like think globally, act locally, support your local mutual aid networks. I can tell you that whatever's going on at your local food bank, they probably need diapers. So that's going to be our charity shout out for this week, I do believe. And thank you all so much for checking out another episode of The Eternal Void, but with Jazz. Now that the holidays are over, we should be back on a more regular release schedule. Thank you all for your patience. Don't forget to check us out, like, share, and subscribe. And you can support us by buying us a coffee. The link will be in the show notes. It really helps with the hosting fees and all of that jazz. Thank you all so much and have a great day.